So anything you say will be held against you in a court of law.
Parks is ready. Parks. We have Parks Department ready?
Yes, we are.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back. Honorable Member of the Council, Chief of Staff Washington, Chief of Staff Walker, department heads, and members of the public. We're here tonight for the Parks and Recreation Department's budget hearing. I would first like to start by recognizing members of the Finance Committee that are in attendance by doing roll call. Vice Chair Harley.
Present.
Council Member Oliver. Councilmember Oliver. Just, okay. All right. Council Member Field.
Present.
At-large Council Member Spadola.
Present.
At-large Council Member Walsh.
Here.
Okay, and checking back in, Council Member Oliver. Okay. All right. I'd also like to recognize other council persons in attendance by doing a roll call. From First District, Council Member Gray. Second District, Council Member Darby.
Present.
Fifth District, Council Member Fields.
Present.
Sixth District, Council Member McCoy. At-large Council Member Cabrera.
Present.
At-large Council Member Dixon. All right. This time I'd also like to recognize the Office of Management and Budget Director, Robert Greco. We also have Rob Winkler from OMB as well. And joining the Parks Department, we have Wayne Jefferson, who's the interim acting Parks and Rec Director. And with me tonight, we also have a Council Strategy Director, Ms. Marshall Bassnight. And as well, we have other panelists who are here with us and members of the public. Before I turn it over to Mr. Winkler for a budget overview summary of Parks and Rec, I'd like to inform everyone that there will be public comment asked at the end of the Parks budget hearing, and we look forward to participation from the public. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes. If there is any follow-up information during any budget hearings, Ms. Marshall Bassnight will track and follow up on these requests. I would like to ask my colleagues if they have questions. As always, please use the raise hand feature. And now, without further ado, Mr. Winkler, we'll turn it over to you for the financial overview of Parks and Rec's proposed fiscal year 2022 budget, followed by an overview from Mr. Wayne Jefferson, who will then go into a question and answer by council.
Thank you, Chairman Johnson. Can we get the PowerPoint, please? Thank you. All right, so this evening I will be providing an overview of the FY22 Parks and Recreation budget. And again, before we get into the details, just want to remind everyone that you can find more about the Parks and Recreation budget in your budget packet, as well as in your budget book on page 72. All right, so the proposed FY 2022 general fund budget is $9.4 million, which is up $1.1 million or 13% compared to the FY21 budget. The majority of this is driven by debt service, which I'll discuss in a moment. Personal services are up nearly $40,000 or 0.9%. Msne is also up at nearly $112,000 or 9% compared to the 21 budget. And total staffing across all funds is 40 FTE, which is down 1 from FY21. Next slide, please. All right, so let's take a look at the major funding changes for FY22, beginning with personnel changes. For 22, the department has eliminated a general laborer 1 position in the William Hicks Anderson Community Center division, resulting in a savings of $59,000. In addition, temporary salaries are budgeted to decrease by $20,000 in the admin division for a temporary employee to manage departmental data gathering. All right, so moving to Msne, there are 2 major increases, both of which are in contracted maintenance services. So first, $50,000 has been added to the maintenance division to support expanded landscaping services for Rodney Square. And second, $59,000 has been added to Hicks Anderson in order to maintain equipment installed following the center's renovation. Okay, and finally, overall debt service is budgeted to increase by $919,000. This is due to the combined effects of the elimination of one-time refinancing savings that were previously budgeted in FY21, as well as new debt service on projects included in the FY21 bond issuance. All right, so those are the major parks and recreation changes for FY22. If you have any questions, I will gladly take them now. And if not, I return the floor to the chair.
Okay, sorry about that. More technical difficulties. Before we go into questioning, I want to recognize Council President Congo in attendance, and also have 6th District Councilmember McCoy. And I believe 1st District Councilmember Gray. Does anybody have any questions for OMB? All right. If not, I would like to turn it over to Mr. Wayne Jefferson. If he has any brief opening remarks, and before you remark, could you introduce, if you have any staff with you at all? I can't see the picture really well.
Yes, I do.
Okay, so you can introduce yourself and your staff before you begin.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Chair Johnson. My name is Wayne Jefferson. I am the acting director for Parks and Recreation. I've been on the job now 64 days and about 6 hours and some change. So, and I have with me tonight Katrina Woody, our fiscal person, Nicole Adams, Director of Youth and Family Services, Carmen Ferguson, our Administrative Assistant, Leonard Williams, our Superintendent of Park Maintenance, Rashid Mustafa, our Superintendent of Parks and Recreation. And also we have Sean Riddell here for technical support. Little overview of Parks and Recreation. Chair, I'd like to tell everyone that our department touches more lives in a positive way than any other department in our city. And just touch on one real highlight. We fed over 1 million meals during the pandemic. And that's just basically just a little overview of what we do right now, but I wanted to highlight that. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Very, very good, Director. So let's turn to question number 1. The same question that all departments have gotten about CARES Act reimbursements. I believe your department was a recipient of CARES Act reimbursements. I don't have the numbers out in front of me right now. Do you know approximately how much it was for the last fiscal year? Either you or Chief of Staff Washington.
Hello, it was approximately $254,015 that was reimbursable for related expenses to COVID.
Okay. It was a lot of that safety equipment, or was a lot of just park cost for the food program?
I believe that, I don't have that schedule in front of me, but I believe most of that was personnel related.
Okay. And cleaning supplies, some sanitation as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now I'm going to jump into, if there's no questions on question one, jump to question two. Again, is our standard question related to the American Rescue Funds. And again, I know this Director Jefferson that we don't have final guidelines yet, but if there's any insight you would have about a wish list or things you would look forward to working with council on if you were allowed to use the funds, however you want it.
I understand.
Yeah, in the question, Director, is this more, I believe real estate and housing kind of gave a wish list. They, wanted to put it towards neighborhood stabilization. So, when we get guidance on the funds, is there just, off the top of your head, is there a way that you would like to use the funds?
I would like to do some youth initiatives, more things for youth to do, maybe extend the hours of some of the community centers, not just with Safe Haven, but during the weekdays.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. We look forward to seeing more guidance as we get that rollout. All right, so let's move on to question three. Just discuss the vacant positions and the time frame you have for filling those.
Right now, we have labor foreman 2, ball field. That's in our maintenance department, and we have a general labor 1, and I believe that's a typo. It says Nick Sanderson, but that's also in our maintenance division.
Next slide.
Next slide.
All right, so there's no questions from members of the council. Yes, we're on question 4, so that.
Msne, I have a question.
Oh, sorry, I missed you. I looked away for a second. Councilmember Gray, floor is
Thank
yours.
you, Mr. Chair. Yes, do you have any unfilled positions that are unfunded? Or how many vacant unfunded positions, how many vacant funded positions do you have? Sorry. Mr. Jefferson?
We have
Is that what we're going through? Is that what?
all of our positions are funded.
So you don't have any vacant, just from my understanding, there's no vacant funded positions in the department.
He just mentioned the labor foreman 2 and the general laborer.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, Councilmember Oliver.
No, I was just going to repeat what the chief of staff said, because I mean, I was waiting for that too. Also, Councilman Gray, but I know he just said it, so I just wanted to help her out. That's all.
Okay, so is your understanding, Mr. Jefferson, that a lot of your positions are filled, a lot of your FTEs are filled. It's just these 2 vacant positions, right?
Correct.
Okay, because I have your count as about 40 FTEs. Does that sound about right?
Yes.
Okay. I believe Councilmember Walsh has a question. Councilmember Walsh?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just for everybody, we claim we want the public to be very informed of all this stuff, yet we constantly use abbreviations for them, and they have no idea what any of this means. So could we please refrain from doing that? And if we're talking about full-time, say full-time positions. We're talking about part-time, say part-time positions. If it's a special fund, say what the special fund is, not the abbreviations for the fund. And just my thought, but it makes me crazy. So, all right.
Yes,
Just one more thing to make me crazy. I know.
that's a great catch, Councilmember. And again, we're always a way to get better. So full-time equivalent is that's FTE, correct,
Right.
Mr. Christensen? So we're talking about full-time equivalent. That's what we're talking about, right? So you have about 40 full-time positions in parks, right?
Yes.
Okay. And it's my understanding about 38 of them are filled. Okay. Now, Councilmember Oliver, you have a question?
Yes, I don't know if I missed it. Did we mention the police officer position of Anderson?
So,
Oh, it's coming up.
yeah, it is coming up.
Okay, no problem.
Okay. All right.
I had some computer difficulties over here. I'm sorry.
All right. No problem. All right. So let's slide back. I believe we're now on question 4. WITN. Okay. All right. Now, can you discuss any position changes?
We have no position changes at this time.
So well, there's one, right? The one you know, general labor will be inserted instead of a contractor. Is
Yes.
that my understanding?
Yes, excuse me. We're trying to get a contractor to do our general labor work at Wilmington, because we need a person that's more qualified with HVAC and things of that nature. Actually, we have reached out to Asset Management, the contractor that does the work in the city county building, and also here in the Turner building, to do our contract maintenance work at Wilmington.
Okay, and all right. I believe Vice Chair Harley has a question.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Director Jefferson, are you interim director or are you the official director?
I'm interim director.
Okay, so I would think that, is that going to be a possible promotion for you, or is there a possibility that someone else is going to fill that position?
There's a possibility, but I would like to get back with you with that answer when I have more information.
Follow up, Mr. Chair?
Yes, please. I believe Chief of Staff Washington had something. Oh. Did you have something to add?
Yeah, we will inform council when a decision is made. Right now, I don't have the answer for her for that one. Right now he's serving in acting capacity.
Okay, yes, thank you. I didn't want to put him on a spot because I know he may be a candidate. So I'm sure, hey, just put it out there. I don't want to put Mr. Jefferson in a spot. So you will inform us.
My computer's dying, so let me go get my cord.
Okay. All right. Was there another follow-up, Vice Chair Harley?
Oh, yeah. So by no means was I, trying to put him on the spot. I was thinking about positions and FTEs and upgrades and all that. And so while we're on the topic, it just made me think about that position that he's in. And I wasn't sure if it was interim or if it was official that he was director. So by no means was I trying to put anybody on the spot. Okay.
All right, Mr. Jefferson. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Now, there's no more questions on 4. I would like to move to 5. I'll take your time on this one. This is one that I know has been raised in even public safety meetings. So please don't speed past this one, Mr. Jefferson. This is one at the top of our minds. Can you discuss the plans for youth programming and violence prevention specifically?
So, Mr. Chair, we have partnered with three different agencies, State of Delaware, University of Delaware, and the United Way. And right now, we do have a safe haven at Msne Community Center, and there are some other safe haven sites throughout the city. But right now, that's all what we're doing, and that's all I can really speak to right now.
Okay. All right. So I guess I'm just trying to get this together. I know about the Safe Haven program, but I mean, there surely has to be a bigger list than that, isn't it? Of youth violence prevention funding.
Yes, it is actually it is a big list. It's 9 different sites.
Yeah, we're gonna have 11.
Yeah, it's 9 different sites that's going to have safe haven, and that's going to help with the youth violence prevention. So it is big, bigger than that.
And the incubator program is going to be managed by the United Way. And as you know, that has various components to it. Council approved or the receipt of the $1 million grant. And so the United Way is going to be the subcontractor of that grant. And it has a whole lot of, it has various social service components to it. And it has the workforce development component to it as well. But the whole premise around it is to help in the reduction of violence in the city.
Okay, now state funds. How does that look like in terms of working with Parks Department? I see the state is on there as a partner. Is there a specific program that the state provides funding for?
That's a part of the grant. That $1 million grant.
The Department of Justice grant, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's the Department of Justice grant.
Yes.
And it's, I guess, processed through the United Way.
Well, United Way was the subcontractor that handles that grant.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been familiar, again, I don't know everything in the justice world, but I'm not familiar with the United Way necessarily doing anti-violence programming. Is this new, something that they're doing?
Well, remember we received the grant and it's different. They have relationships, partnerships with various agencies that they can partner with. So while they're the subcontractor of the grant, they will be actually managing the other partners as well that have different programs to address youth violence. So that's the short answer to that.
Okay. I may have some questions, but I'm kind of getting my notes together. Please, several of my colleagues have questions. So Council Member McCoy, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So my question, I guess, Mr. Jefferson, is more so I am aware of that grant and I guess who your partners are. Are there any other or newer initiatives or anything that's on the, coming down the pipe to add to the youth violence prevention? I am aware if the Wilmington Youth Leaders Incubator Program is who that I've seen previously, and these are great young people. I'm looking to see how we're going to be basically engaging more people, and actually, is there any new program on horizon?
So, Councilwoman McCoy, I think you're getting the Wilmington Youth Leader Incubator Program confused with the commission.
Oh, okay. I think you may be right. I think, is that the one that Dorian was leading?
Yes, that was the Wilmington Youth Commission.
Okay, I think you're right. Yes.
It's totally different.
Okay. All right. So this WYLIP is actually new. This is the new program that's actually on horizon to deal with our youth violence prevention.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Is there any more information that we can find to kind of make council aware of what they're going to be getting into?
That's something I can get back with, because we're not sure right now.
Okay.
that's something I can definitely get back with you.
Okay.
Well,
about.
actually, we sent, council has a copy of the grant and all the deliverables when you approved the acceptance of the $1 million, but I can resend that to you.
Thank you. Okay, so you already have, so there are deliverables that we know, like some, I guess we're expecting some type of outcome from this $1 million.
Yes.
Okay, and how many like increments will we receive that $1 million?
I believe it's 200, I don't want to say, is it 250 over 4 years or 5 years, something like that. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, with 4 years.
250 over 4 years.
Thank you very much. Oh, and Chief of Staff Washington, yes, thank you for sharing that again, so to be on top of my email list.
Yeah, not a problem.
Councilmember Darby, did you still have a question?
Yes, I do have a question. So I don't think I voted on this in the 108, so that must have been something in 107. So that keeps me a mention that council voted on this. So I would like to know when it was voted on, because I don't know about this. And partnership aim, the partnership with the United Way of Delaware, how was that decision even made? There are so many grassroots initiatives and people on the ground doing community work for youth violence prevention. And how do we go through United Way? And then what is the partnership with the University of Delaware in regards to violence in the city of Wilmington?
So to your first question, you're right, the grant was approved by council in the last session. As to deciding on United Way of Delaware, that was an administrative decision. Understanding that they have the capacity and the wherewithal to fully meet all the deliverables for that grant. And so that was an executive decision by our office.
All right, and Councilmember Gray, I believe you had a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question was answered.
Okay.
Sorry, Chair, my question was not answered. What is University of Delaware connection to all of this? It says UD, and I'm trying to figure out how UD got involved in youth violence prevention in the city of Wilmington.
Councilwoman Darby, University of Delaware has been very instrumental in collecting the data for youth violence and stuff like that in the city. But the grant.
Thank you. Can I follow up, Chair?
Yes, please.
How do we as a city promote HBCUs and we don't partner with DSU for the data collection piece? That just boggles me. That we put on this show every year that we want HBCU scholarships and graduates and our students to go, and then they go to these HBCUs and we're not even partnering with them. Just my tidbit.
Councilmember Oliver.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to follow up on, I guess, what Councilman Darby said, which was a good point, but I know from in the past, University of Delaware is a school of research, and I know that's what that would be Wolfie and them. That would be Wolfie's team, part of that UD outreach to prevent the violence prevention team. So I was waiting for somebody to say that pretty much Wolfie's team, but also to your point, which was really good, but that's Gwen and Henry who really initiates that, or that group who really do an outstanding job to get us all the information. And I don't know why that wasn't mentioned, but they collaborate with UD and various other organizations to get us all that information. But that UD prevention group would be Wolfie's group that's located on Tatnall Street. So I just wanted to just mention that. Thank you.
Now, Director, is there any, just the Health Council, is there any is there any thoughts about any kind of evidence-based youth violence prevention program, such as Cure Violence? Because I don't see that in the budget.
Hey, Chair, we have been having many discussions, but we haven't locked down anything solid as of yet. But as soon as we do, we'll get you the information.
All right, very good. Any other questions on 5? All right, now I would like to turn to 6. Director Jefferson, can you discuss the or a little over $1.059 million targeted for temp salaries, and this is a 23,000 increase.
And good question, and it goes back to the Darrell Chambers, who Councilwoman Albert just talked about. The increase in the temporary position was for that person to collect the data and analysis in the reports of our different programs, 19.5. And the other $7,643 was an increase, and that was for lifeguard coverage at Wilmington Community Center year-round, which helped with swim lessons and also to have a first-time swim team.
Okay. All right. Turn to question number 7. Oh, you know what? I think we skipped one part. We didn't go over the number of summer youth jobs. Do we have a slide on that?
Next slide.
I don't think that came up yet. That hasn't come up yet. Yep, Mary. Oh,
A little out.
go back.
Okay, there we are. Okay, so let's go back a little bit because I don't.
Then-
Okay, so let's talk about the youth workers.
So,
Okay. Yep.
Okay, so we have 100 youth workers. It's $163,912 budget in the general fund. So this year we will have 350 new kids at $10 an hour. They'll work 25 hours a week. And in the 6-week period, they'll make about $1,500 for the summer. And this is, we're really impacted by the pandemic.
Wait, it was impacted or it will be impacted?
It was impacted. And still
So
will be.
does that mean less jobs?
Yes.
Or, okay, gotcha. So this, and when you look at section B, it talks about the breakdown. So are we getting some dollars and money from the state?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we get $226,913 from the Department of Labor, and that'll allow us to hire 59 city kids and 125 city kids. Bank of America will give us $100,000, and that'll allow us to hire another 75 kids.
Okay, I believe my colleagues have some questions. Please, Council President, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Director, have we ever collaborated with any organizations that can give us data on at-risk youth who we can offer jobs to? Is that something that we're allowed to do? Have we ever thought about doing that, like making a certain amount of those jobs specifically for children who are labeled at risk?
Yes, we do.
What's that process?
We do that, Council President, we do that in-house. A lot of the kids that go in these different community centers, 10% of them are given these jobs. So we kind of do that in-house. With 10% of the kids in the city that are at risk are privy to these jobs.
How do we identify, how do we know they're at risk?
Normally, we work with the directors of each center, find out what's going on with these kids. They normally talk about them, give us a little background about them, and we try to work with them. That's how we get our data.
Okay, all right. I would like to, if we can, I would like to just work together, see if we can expand that whole process to see if we maybe can work with the court systems or fair. I'm not sure. I just know that we need to make sure that we're giving opportunities to children who definitely need it and could be the next, the next, in that next group of children who are labeling as, people in gangs and out here, committing some of the crimes in our city. I think that if we give them opportunities just to see something different that we can, work on, we can try to decrease that whole, just what we're dealing with in the city right now. So, if we're opening that conversation, I would love to be a part of it with you.
Okay.
I will say, Council President, that a lot of that has to do with privacy laws. So, we would love to gather certain information about children, but there are privacy laws in place that, won't allow us to get but so much information. So we would really have to rely on the family. And as these different directors and employees interact with the youth, we can kind of gauge who's in need. But the formal communication about what's going on in their household, that would prevent us from, the state prevents that.
I hear what you're saying, but I just think that if we at least try to knock on the door, I think the door will be open. Once they see what our goals are and what our vision is, I think that we have to at least try to have that conversation with whoever can give us those children who really need to be in those positions of some of these jobs, so they can just kind of get away from that element that they could be in for the summer. But I do understand where you're coming from. But I just think that if we're open and transparent about what we want to do, I think we'll get a pretty good response. But thank you. And also, I'm sorry, Mr. Director, you also mentioned that Bank of America is giving us $100,000.
Yes.
Have we leveraged? I know we always talk about. I'm not sure if it's true or not. We always talk about that the city doesn't leverage enough of the corporations or relationships with the corporations in our city to give us that kind of funding. Is that something that you're aware of? Do we do that on the Parks and Rec level?
That's not something I'm aware of, Council President. I really can't speak to that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, just a note, the Bank of America grant is up. I believe we received somewhere in the neighborhood of 65,000 last year, so they did increase it this year. I'm really grateful for that.
All right, thank you.
Councilmember Gray.
Mr. Chair, I think on question 5, was there a list of entities that had donated to the Summer Youth Fund last year? And then this is B, question 6, those that have donated this year are going to donate this year. Am I correct about that?
It's the same from last year.
No, question 5 dealt with the youth violence prevention program.
Is there a follow-up question, Councilmember? All right, Councilmember Gray. All right, so I'm not sure what happened. I can't see from here, but we can come back to Councilmember Gray. Councilmember McCoy.
Thank you, Chair. I had to go and kind of like look and identify what that piece of legislation was, that resolution. And after getting a chance to look at it, I really don't see the difference from what we've already been doing. The difference to me seems to be that we've gotten a larger amount of money, or we've gotten this larger grant. And now that we have all these partners or whatever, who basically will now get a piece of this grant in order to do their little section, I want to see exactly what's going to be done for these 55 students or whatever that are going to get life skills. But let me make certain that I'm looking at it correctly. Gosh, where is it? Okay, here it is. All right, so yeah, so I looked at the deliverables. So it's the department specifically intended to utilize the program grant monies to fund the implementation of conflict resolution life skills program, monthly leadership training of 55 students, traditional vocational educational job placement program, pathways, a youth leadership initiative, and a preventive conference in partnership with the University of Delaware. And the thing is, like, these things are great. They will be perfect if we weren't already doing these. I was looking to see something actually a little bit more innovative with the type of funds that are actually coming.
Yeah, it's fun from the state, but I can tell you that there is a real healthy social service component that is meshed with this grant, and that we don't have. We don't have the social workers. So I can give you further detail on that, but to me, that's the bigger difference when we're partnering with the social service agencies.
All right, I have no follow-up, Chair.
Okay. So actually, can you expound on that, Chief of Staff Washington? Because I know we've had that talk with public safety about the need for, again, I know a lot of it is state control, but a need for, at least on the city level, to have some kind of social workers actually on the ground. What does that plan look like?
I think part of it is just basically assessing what some of their needs are and making sure that they have access to it.
Is it down now?
From the social service.
Because have there ever been social workers on the city side ever?
Well, you recently had the budget hearing with the police department, and so with the Yale model, we do contract with the state social service agencies. They go out and
Can you hear it on your? I don't hear it on your machine at all.
No.
okay.
You ask somebody to mute their mic, please. I'm sorry.
They identify kids that have been exposed to violence, and they go and canvass those neighborhoods, and they meet with the kids and their parents, and they determine what what some of their needs are, not only the kids but the parents as well. And then some of that breaks off into some mentoring and just other types of activities, and just things to try to get them back on track. And it's not a long expounded interaction with them. Is very short-lived, but we do touch on it at points in times.
Okay. So the idea is that on the park side, we'll have social workers as well through this new funding.
Well, that's the part where United Way will be assisting in that regard. So when I said United Way will be the subcontractor on this, they will be handling all the detail and all the, they will be making sure that all the agencies that need to be involved are there.
Okay. Excellent. Councilmember Oliver, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've mentioned this on several occasions. I'm looking at the 50 non-city youth. And I think I asked this question last budget hearing. I would like to know how many youth for Newcastle County do they accept? Because with all this crime, I'm saying 50 non-city youth, we can use that 50. I mean, I know we can use the 50 in the city. So I never understood why because it wasn't like that years ago. I think things have changed. but maybe 10 non-youth, but 50 non-city youth, that's a lot. And we talk about the crime in the city and finding the youth jobs, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. 50 non-city youth, I think that's a high number. May I follow up?
Yes, please.
So Bank of America with the 75, would that be total City of Wilmington, the 250 with the 75?
It'd be actually with the 100 that you see from the general fund and those two. I think we employ about 350. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, 350 kids.
Okay, I guess I just like to make a statement. I think that's an area that needs to be looked at. The 59 city youth, but we all sit around and say the youth this and the youth that in the city. If we're trying to really, put our money where our mouth is, 50 youth, we can find 50 youth standing out here in the corners that could use that job, use them jobs. I mean, I know it's a lot that goes with it. And I always, and I have to say this also, I think when some individuals got into this Parks and Recreation, I don't know where it started, but start putting all these extra layers on kids to find, in order to fill out an application and to go online and their parents this, you turned it into a homework. You turned it into homework. You turned it into, it wasn't it stopped being a simple application to draw some of the kids off the street. So I think internally, we also destructed this process of taking them through this, taking them through that. And I hear what people saying that, oh, they older, they should know this, they should behave like this. Well, we don't live in we don't live in that type of world nowadays. If we're trying to help some of these kids, we need to simplify this application, go grab them, pull them in, like Herman Holloway, that used to be his pet peeve, this summer program, 500 kids paid for from the General Assembly. I remember because I was a product of that. And now we've changed it into this whole process. And I've had parents say they'd rather take their kids to Wawa before they bring them to Parks and Recreation. And that's sad. I think Parks and Recreation do a great job. But when you start hearing people or parents don't even want to come over there to bring their kids because it's such a strenuous process, I think that's sad. I think when Mr. Sheehy was in there, it was much easier. I think my opinion, I just think we just make it, we just too important. Thank you.
Mr. Chair? Mr. Chair?
Councilmember Gray, I have you next on the list, but actually if you want to go now, because I know you got cut off.
I got cut off, and also I'm on my phone, so I can't connect with my computer. But I wanted to say that back at summer youth programs, when you were listing the contributors, well, I know that Newcastle County on April 13th just passed a grant for $107,000 to go to the summer youth program, and this isn't listed. Is it not going to be used for the summer youth program, or how are you going to use that, or is it going to be incorporated? I'm just asking.
That's not our money to use.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
That's Newcastle County.
No, Newcastle County just passed for a grant to be given to the summer youth program in the Wilmington summer youth program in the amount of $107,000.
I haven't received notice for that, I have to tell you. And I don't know I don't know what the guidelines on that. I don't know if they keep the money and we get reimbursed at some point, but.
Does that mean they didn't contribute anything last year?
Excuse me?
Does that mean they didn't contribute anything last year to the summer youth program?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Councilmember Darby, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. I do have a conversation going back a little bit. So outside of conversations with directors, what data do we have from the impact of these dollars being spent on the youth? Like the violence and the age of the victims and offenders, all of that like on paper, like in data. So since we're partnering with like UD for data and research, so what information do we have to show the impacts of these dollars being spent? We have this grant money from the state, we have grant money from these banks, we have the general fund money. What has the impact been and where is the data? And then I'll go to my second question once that's answered.
I do not have the answer to that. I can check for the data and get back with you.
Well, the actual grant that you're speaking of, we haven't started the program yet. So there would be no data to reflect that.
May I follow up?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I'm not speaking specifically for the grant. I'm talking overall the summer youth program over, wow, I guess I'm old now because I did the summer youth program over all these decades and years of the summer youth program. Where is the data to show the impact of these dollars being spent on the youth in relation to violence and the age of the victims and offenders in regards to crime? Where is the impact of these dollars? Where is that data?
So there hasn't always been a youth violence program, but I can tell you that the dollars that we receive for the summer youth program goes towards their salaries, goes towards what we pay them over the summer. That money goes directly to the kids, and probably a small amount goes to any counselors, but those are the funds that we use to hire them.
So I can follow up, Chair?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so there's no data that shows the impact of these dollars.
Yes, the impact is that they get hired.
Yeah.
No. That's the out, like you get hired, but what's the impact of them getting hired, having money? What's the impact in the data? There's none.
I'm not sure what you're asking.
Let me ask you different, if you mind, council member. We're spending a lot of money. I want to put this clear. We're spending a lot of money in youth violence, jobs for the past few decades. And I don't think we have an idea of the data of actually if this is helping violence or if it's actually not helping. Should we look at a different model? I believe that's what council member Darby, I may be speaking out of turn, but that's what I think a lot of us have that question as to like what the impact is. Hiring somebody doesn't necessarily keep them from picking up a gun. I think as we found.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But as I've said before, this money, I'm not sure why you're correlating with this because this is the summer youth program. So it really doesn't have anything to do with youth programs.
May I follow up?
Yes, please, council member. The floor is still yours. You guys have an audio problem. Somebody, WITN.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. Is Chief of Staff Washington, are you still on?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Councilmember Darby, the floor is still yours.
Yeah, so you kind of hit on aspect of what I'm asking for, Chair. So that was great. So I just want to say they're being hired and having a job. There is research and data that shows it has.
Turn around and then turn it down.
Hello? That has impact on violence. And I can tell you for myself, by me getting a summer youth job, it stopped me from doing things, right? So there is, and there needs to be a data that shows the impact of this program. We can't keep running a summer youth program and we don't even have dollars. We don't have the data that shows the impact of these dollars. We don't have it. So there is a connection between youth getting jobs, and I can tell you for myself as a young person who grew up in Wilmington, connected to crime, but we don't have that data. It's not being collected.
And as I said, that the summer youth program really didn't have anything to do with the youth violence program at all. This is a summer youth program, and basically this money is to allow the kids to have some disposable income so they can buy school clothes and things of that nature. It really doesn't have anything to do with the youth violence, and there was never intended to be a correlation. Now going forward with this program, I think that we will be able to collect data and see, how these funds can be used to maybe mitigate some of that. But our summer youth program over the years hasn't been a youth violence program. It just hasn't.
All right, thank you. May I follow up, and then I'll let someone else go, Chair?
Yes, actually, I have a quick point, and this may be just my knowledge. Is there income thresholds to participate in a program, or can anybody, no matter how wealthy they are, participate in the youth work program?
I'll defer to Director Jefferson.
I defer to Nicole. Nicole will answer that. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. So because we get grant dollars, it's important that we adhere to the grant funds from Department of Labor. So we're required under the grant to hire 73% of the population served has to meet the 200% below poverty guidelines. Outside of that, the other 27% can be at any income level. So each year we surpass that. Last year I served 87% of the population served met the 200% below the poverty guidelines, and the year prior in 2019 we were at 95%. So we the city of Wilmington each year historically, at least since I've been here over the last 7 years, we typically serve far more than the 73% which is required under the guidelines of the grant.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Adams. I just wanted to clear it up even for the public. I think it was two different conversations. We said it's not youth violence, not helping at-risk youth, but then it's a work program, and that's separate. I believe you are serving the at-risk population because of those income thresholds. So in a way, it's anti-violence programming.
So under the Youth Career Development Program, which was historically known as Summer Youth Employment, the data that was mentioned is the training data, where we prepare young people to be gainfully employed so that when they are ready to get their real job, if you would, they have the skills that are required or necessary for them to be prepared for their next steps. So as far as the violence question, it's a little separate from what we offer in youth career development. However, I would imagine that, if we look back at the data during the summer months, in some areas, the violence is lower because young people are working.
Gotcha. Thank you very much for clearing that up, Ms. Adams. I think that helps, freshen up for everyone. Without further ado, I want to turn. I know we have a lot of.
I wasn't finished. I was just cut off, Chair. I had more questions, and y'all just.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. The floor is still yours, Councilmember Darby. I apologize. I thought you said you were done questioning. I can't see your block. Floor is yours.
Yeah. So I have other questions. How many people from the summer youth program, let's say over the past 4 years now, or even pre-COVID, had stable jobs? I'm looking for the data, and I'm not able to find it. So is there data that shows how many youth actually get stable jobs before this?
So Councilwoman Darby, first of all, I can provide you with some more statistical data at a later date, but I will say that especially this year, the 2021 fiscal year and 2020 fiscal year, we have data because we now run a year-round program, which was initiated in the year of 2020. So no longer is it just summer in and summer out. We now hold those children, some of them. I think I employed 110 kids beyond the summer this past year in COVID, and prior to COVID, we hired 90 young people outside of the summer. So the idea is to move towards a mindset of a year-round employment program with the goal of making these children, preparing them to be career ready.
Thank you for that answer. May I follow up with another question?
Sure.
All right.
Yes, please.
Okay, so in 2014, I believe the city partnered with the United Way of Delaware again during the summer youth program with the Life Map program. Are you familiar with that?
Very much so.
Yes, and that dealt with addressing universities and asset building based on Search Institute findings. What
Absolutely.
partnerships do we currently have active that is doing things like that too?
That's a phenomenal question. So, because of COVID, some things were, I'm going to say, put on the shelf because of capacity. A lot of our businesses that would normally take 10 and 12 young people were not able to do that in COVID because they were trying to employ the people that they had and, and still do social distancing. But as far as training goes, at least since I've been here, I can tell you with certainty and provide data if you need it to show you that we provided training as part of the career pathway module, as part of our workforce development. Since 2014, we partnered with United Way year in and year out. Each year has looked a little different. Last year and the year prior, we now have a 3-track model. We offer a workforce track and there's an internship track, and then there is a career pathway track. And each track is different and separate, but we look at the holistic child. So if a child is not able to do one thing, and like say they want to be outside and want to be a mechanic, if they want to do that, they would probably be in the internship track where they would work with maintenance and some other areas within and out the city. So to answer your question specifically, United Way has helped us with the life map. I've partnered with them for the last 5 or 6 years. We also have worked with Strive. We work with Summer Collab. We work with Interfaith Housing. We work with Hicks Anderson. We work with Freedom School out of, I can't remember the name of that church. We work with Green Jobs. We work with Delaware Nature Society. So every single year, we grow that list of partnerships.
Thank you. I appreciate you being able to answer the question. I just have one more question, and this is specific in regards to the partnership with United Way. I have a question. Maybe you can provide this answer for me later, but I know that United Way, for every dollar that they get, they take out around 20 cents per dollar. So I want to make sure that the full $1 million that we allocate to them, is that going to go towards them doing what they need to do with the money, or would they still take about 20 cents or 23 cents per dollar of that grant?
So I first want to clarify, because I want to make sure that we're not interchanging them. So the funding provided for violence is separate from what summer youth or youth career development offers, and our partnership with United Way is different in both aspects. So United Way doesn't get any money to provide the life skill development. I've never provided them any funds. I would say that they're probably the only entity that has helped us over the last 7 years and has not asked for a dollar. Now, as far as the violence prevention, they are overseeing or helping us to ensure that we provide the deliverables, but of the $250,000 that is provided over the 4 years, they're getting a small portion of that. I'm going to say it's less than 10% of the full $250,000. And again, they're not taking over the grant. We're doing it together.
All right. Thank you for clarifying that. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Ms. Adams, again, for that level of detail. I think it's important that we know what we're spending dollars on. I really appreciate it, but I know, just hang on, Ms. Adams. I believe there's several other questions. I believe Councilmember Walsh, you had your hand raised next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of things. The youth and violence with the Parks and Recreation program really only, from what I remember, came around about 7 years ago. Wasn't under this mayor. It was under a previous mayor. And the director of Parks and Rec at that time had police experience. It was a colossal bust, the entire program. And when this mayor came in, it wasn't done again that way. And then he went to the full time, which started because of COVID, for the department. So a lot of the things that are being said today are just not true. the one employee who explained that, yes, this was a training program for kids and had been for years on how to fill out a typical job application and that sort of thing. And, you know, it provided summer jobs for our kids and did so very well. So, and what I remember is one of my kids had applied for a job and they didn't get it because of an income level. And that was fine. I didn't even know they had applied for it. But they got turned down and there was no complaint on my part that they did. So that's all I have to say right now. Thanks.
Very much. Council Member Oliver, I believe you're next.
I just wanted to say that I just like to thank Wayne Jefferson, Carmen, and all Parks and Recreation, because as I know, every year I have quite a few families that I send over there before this leadership, as Loretta said. That was all under Dennis Williams. That was a good point. But I want to say Parks and Recreation has been close to my heart all my life, because I've been working in there when it started. I guess when I was able to start working at 14, and I worked all the way up to college, et cetera, came home from school, worked at Wilmington Sanderson. So I really appreciate the hard work they do over there. And I love you guys, and y'all keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council Member, I believe, McCoy, you had your hand raised next.
Thank you, Chair. Actually, I just wanted to comment on the 50 non-city youth. As a council person who who district is on the border, I do understand why we're still doing the non-city, because there are people who are literally separated by a street, one block, who are still suffering through all, I guess, all these other things that we think are only just for the city. So I do understand why, we consider it 59 city. But just wanted to find out, where does that border actually end when you consider non-city youth?
Outside the zip code.
Outside.
Outside the zip code. So Councilwoman McCoy.
Yes.
So we have a mandate to hire young people, because the funds that we get from Department of Labor is a state grant, and we live in the county of Newcastle. We do, when I submit the grant, I do set aside funds for a select number of young people. And so I will say, in this administration, we've concentrated on ensuring that more of the funded dollars are going towards city young people. So the number has decreased quite a bit. So 50 young people that sit outside of the zip codes 807, some parts of 805, as you know, aren't city. And they're called our promise communities. And when I submit the grant, the promise communities fall in those zip codes, 805, 804, and some of 720 also are that promise community that we set aside funds for.
Okay, that's good to know. I'm familiar with some of those zip codes, and like I stated, that there are more impoverished areas besides just 801, 802, 805.
Councilmember Cabrera, thank you for being so patient.
No worries. Thank you, Mr. Chair. A lot has been said, so I don't want to, drag this out. I want to say that I too, like Councilwoman Darby, am a product of youth employment. My first official job when I turned 14 was a youth employment job. And I understand that the program's goals are to hire and to give these young people jobs. Understanding everything that is happening in our city, and now that the program is year-round, what I'm hearing is that maybe we should have more data or collect more information on the children that are participating in the program. So maybe that is something that we can look at, a measurement tool. The other thing that I want to remind council members that we can all help out with is recruiting employers, because the quality of any training that these young people get really is dependent upon the jobs that they're able to go into and learn. I mean, we don't have professional jobs for everybody. There's not always office space, and some kids rather be outside. They don't want to be inside, and we utilize them in the park. But I can tell you that when I was in the mayor's office, those kids, the youth employment children, were always sent up to the mayor's office for me to keep them busy with my events. And I did. They were out giving out flyers. They were doing things because they really weren't getting meaningful work where they were learning anything. And that sometimes happens. The kids said, we're bored. We're not really working. When I was at the Grand Opera House, we hired some of the students and we did workshops for them. We did certain things so that they would actually leave learning something. So one of the things that we can really do to benefit the children is sometimes there's more kids than there are jobs. So let's find employers and work with them. And then let's do a little measure and do a survey, a when they first get in there, and a post survey. And those are ways that we can start to measure what the accomplishments were. But I understand why it's not done, because this money that we get for this program doesn't require those measurements like the grants and the monies that we get for other programs. And that's all I wanted to add. Thank you.
Very much. Councilmember Darby.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just want to add, and to the point that I'm asking these questions not because I think Park and Rec needs less money, but you guys need more money to serve our youth, right? And I think the data will really take us to the next level to be able to find more funding and for you guys to be able to really advocate for what you need for our kids in our city. So I think it's really key that we focus on ways to collect that data, because I think Parks and Rec needs to be a large chunk of the budget, right? I think that's way more important than other things I see funded in this budget. But I just want to make that very clear. When I ask my questions, it's not that I don't think Parks and Rec should have less money, but y'all need more money, and the data going to take us to the next level.
Yeah, and I just want to, and just also for the public's knowledge, and as the budget committee goes, even me as chairman, I second Councilmember Darby's sentiment. Just because he asks questions doesn't mean we're against the program or we think they're not doing a great job. We're asking questions because it's very vital, and it's a shared vision with the mayor and administration about youth violence is significantly holding our city back. So this is why we're spending this time, members of the public, talking about this, because it's important for us to get it right. And I believe we still have a few follow-up questions. Councilmember Oliver, please.
This is my last.
No, take the time you need. It's an important subject.
No, this is my last go around for Parks and Recreation. I just wanted to I wanted to just say I want to make sure, I'm glad Darby said that. I want to make sure we're not talking about adding a whole bunch of extra layers onto Parks and Recreation as far as doing this and just adding extra layers if there's no extra funding. So that was brought up. But also I wanted to make a point. Our kids, in my opinion, I think the jobs that Parks and Recreation give out are wonderful jobs. They work over William Hicks Anderson. They do secretarial work. They do mailroom work. They do lifeguarding. They do lunches, daycare, Grand Opera House. They have excellent jobs. So I don't want people to think that the kids, because they're city kids, they don't have good jobs. That's not true. Their jobs, they have parks jobs just as well as Newcastle County. So I want people out there to know we're not just throwing our kids in any type of jobs, because I would not be accepting that. The youth that I take to various jobs and the parents call me, they are happy. They're working at the Department of Labor, and a lot of them have continued to go forward to college. So I don't want people to think because they're city kids, because sometimes that's a stereotype. They're doing just the same. They're doing the same jobs at Newcastle County youth are doing. They might just have a little bit more money out there, but they're doing secretariat jobs. They're in the city county building. They're in the mayor's office. They're in budget management. They're all throughout the city of Wilmington, and also the city of Wilmington in the streets and locally. So I don't want people, they're counselors. They have some great jobs. They're in the community service building. So I don't want people to think that we're just throwing our kids in and just to say they're giving out lunches or working at the daycare, they could become teachers. So they are being trained. That's my opinion. Thank you.
All right. Councilmember Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I meant to say this when I was speaking the last time. The one thing that I think that we do have to give is a round of applause to all the people in Parks and Recreation. While many government workers were told to go home for the last year and a half, close to 2 years now,
Good point.
the people in the Parks Department had to double down, because then we started doing the meals program full time, and we had to find workers. If we look at our parks alone during the entire COVID time, our parks have not looked as good as they are right now in the last 25 years.
Point.
The whole team over there, and when Kevin Kelly, whom I miss very much over there, and just left as director, I think the team that he had behind him, they all did a wonderful job, Mr. Jefferson. And I take my hat off to you for continuing it with his being gone. So, you know, hold your heads high. You did really well. And I think we all thank you very, very much for the service that you gave every resident in this city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Cabrera.
I'm sorry, I too left something out. The last point that I wanted to make, and someone mentioned how the crime levels with our youth and the engagement in the street and certain things that happen are lower when they're working, especially during those summer months. And again, that's one of the reasons why I'm sure that we're also trying to keep this program going year round and why we should support it. So getting back to the data collection, this is something that we should definitely be looking at and capturing, especially with everything that's going on in Wilmington with the youth violence. If we can show that keeping these children occupied, learning a trade, learning a job, working, making money. Yes, you can always make more money on the street, but this is honest money. They don't have to worry about watching their back, that the majority of them would choose to do it this way. That's why it's important that we gather the data and continue to grow these programs. It's the last point I wanted to make. Thank you. And thank you everyone for the great job that you're doing. Parks and Recreation is also very near and dear to my heart. My special events for the city would have never gone on without the support. So it's a department that I also treasure very much and hope to support as I continue in this role. Thank you.
Okay. I believe there was another breakout to this, Director.
Yeah.
Just wanted to hit that slide real quick. Just about the corporate partners.
Yeah. 6. We did. So talk about 60.
6D.
Next slide.
Next slide.
6C. Okay. Yeah, and then D. Yeah.
You talk
About Bank of America. Oh. Okay. So Bank of America is the only corporate sponsor so far, but again, we're going to work to finding other corporate sponsors, right?
Yeah. Next slide.
Talk about that.
Yeah. Next slide.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And I believe we touched on all that in terms of getting the corporate community engaged. There's many large employers that I don't see on there. So I need to, we need to understand as council what we can do, I believe, to try to get them engaged with this programming. All right, Director Jefferson, just going to question 7. Can you discuss the planned use of approximately $308,000 for fees and for professional fees and consultants?
Next slide. Answer. Yeah. The answers.
Okay. Can you expound on that?
For maintenance, the $249,060 that'll cover temporary employees through integrity staffing. For recreation, the $30,000 will help cover the anti-tobacco grant and vaping program, Safe Haven, and the life skills program. And $21,000 for youth and families will help pay for the SAT training and the YCD training. for summer youth program. And the $7,800 is for, it was something that my predecessor, Kevin Kelly, we always talked about having a grief counselor at William Hicks Anderson Center. We wanted a person to come in and talk to a lot of our kids experience a lot of trauma and have some loss throughout the community. And we wanted to hire a grief counselor at William Hicks Anderson Center to come in part-time. So that covers those costs.
All right. Now can you talk about more specifically more the safe haven for funding?
The 21,000 is 21,000 that we give from Pathways. That's Foley Harris program. Actually, that's another typo. That should be Youth Empowerment Program. And that's, Foley Harris runs that program, and that's a safe haven that we help fund.
Okay.
And
Director, we have a question from Councilmember Fields.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Mr. Jefferson, we can go back to the other slide. I think it's 7A. So for the safe haven site, how many FET and part-time employees do you have working the safe haven? And are they budgeted into this amount of money?
Are you asking for Pathways or what?
Yeah, the pathway that you said, it says specify any funding for a safe haven site. And it says pathway youth, you said it's youth empowerment program, 21,000. So what I was asking you is, how many FET, how many full-time or part-time or temporary employees do you have helping you with the safe haven site? And, and if you do, like, is that money budgeted into this money, or is it budgeted into like the regular WHACC employee funding, and are they getting paid overtime if they work the safe haven? How does that work?
I would defer to Katrina Woody to answer that.
Good afternoon. So the Safe Haven program or the donation that we give to Yelp, they administer that and how they see fit. That's an independent program. They do submit reports, and I can get that information to you as to how they use their 21,000. Our Safe Haven funding that we received is a reimbursable grant, and we have 2 full-time employees at William Hicks who work on that program, and then an additional, I'd say 6 to 7, possibly maybe sometimes 10 limited service employees that are employed through that grant. And we are able to recoup the funds for the limited service employees from the grant.
Thank you. Can I follow up, Chair?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'm asking that budgeted question because I'm kind of looking at how things are moving this far so far this summer. Would you be like needing more employees? You know what I mean? Like, that's why I'm asking about the budget and how many. So let me go back. So this safe haven, this is different than what this is different than what Hicks provides?
Yes.
Okay, so it's going to be 2 programs at one site.
No, the Yelp program or Pathways, that's held independently from the city. Do you know?
That's 1100 Sycamore Street.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
This is the one that we added for the 6th district.
Okay. Okay.
And I thank you for it. I must have my hand up if you had any questions.
I just didn't know, and I wanted to be clear because I know Hicks has a safe haven. Then I said, well, they got another one too. So I just wanted to be, my budget question was to make sure that the safe havens were going to be fully staffed, to help, to help our young, our adults, our young youth, our children. And that was my question. That's why I asked that. So thank you for clearing that up.
Councilmember McCoy, was there anything else you had to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to just give a little bit information to Councilman Fields, just to make her aware that getting in, as soon as I got into council, I already knew about safe havens because I worked at community centers previously and realized that I did not have a community center within my district, but I also did have a place that helped the youth, which was the Youth Empowerment Center. So my request to the mayor and to his staff was, I don't have a safe haven, like it's not a quote unquote community center, so they don't get state funds like everyone else does. And so that's the reason why this money has actually been added, so that the youth in my area are able to go and do the basketball and get something to eat and everything during the summer months.
Can I follow up, Chair? I'm sorry.
Yes, please.
Councilwoman McCoy, no, I just think it's a really good idea. That's why I was asking, and I just wanted to make sure that money was budgeted in there for it to be, staffed like it should be. That was my whole question, and I'm really excited that you have that in your district. That's a good thing.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad that the city has actually been certain to make certain it was there pretty much annually since I've gotten in. I'm like, I don't have a community center, but this is my makeshift center, and they're doing a pretty good job over there. I wish it was more than basketball, but hey, I'm like, this is as good as it's getting for me right now.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Harley, I believe you're next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Director Jefferson, as you know, there is not any youth centers in the 4th district on the east side. And when I say that, I'm speaking of between the footprint of 4th and 9th and Walnut and Church. 4th and 9th, Walnut and Church. So my question to you is, one, does the youth department, Parks and Rec department, do you have buses that could possibly pick up youth from that boundary that I just mentioned to take them to the teen warehouse?
Well, good. We have a van or two, but we would, if we were going to pick up kids, we would bring them to the Wilmington Community Center.
Okay, from the, okay, because it's all city of Wilmington.
Yeah, because that is our only city-owned community center. And if it is the greatest community center in the city, hands down. So we would gladly pick them up and bring them take them to Wilmington Community Center if you want us to.
Okay, so we'll talk offline. And the reason why I brought it up is because I was looking to see if there were going to be any new sites named for this upcoming budget year. And, looking at the list, and it always comes up, the question of people settlement, people always want to talk about people settlement, but, I keep telling them that was then and this is now. And as it relates to our youth in that boundary that's mentioned. So I'm glad you shared that, and I will give you a call offline to see how I can work with some community leaders to get our kids picked up. And yeah, Hicks Anderson, it doesn't matter to me, as long as they can have the opportunity to be a part of a great program like the one at Hicks. So we'll talk offline, and thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Councilmember Darby.
So yes, thank you, Chair. So I am looking at the list, and I do not see anything for the 2nd district. And we have 2 centers, Tennis Rock House and Youth Entrepreneurship, and we have Hanover, and we have Shortridge and Warner in our district. Or is anything in the 2nd district being considered to be a safe haven site?
Now, right now, Councilwoman Darby, I cannot answer that. Actually, in the past, we always used Shortridge, school as a rec site. But when the pandemic hit, we had to stop that. In the past, we used Handover as a site, but when the pandemic hit, that shut us down. We also used Warner School as a site, and pandemic hit, that shut us down. So, those were three places that kids could go in your district that were shut down because of the pandemic.
So I'm sorry, did I cut you off, council member? If I'm not mistaken, I believe these are the qualified safe haven sites. And just like they said, this is a reimbursable grant. So these are the qualified sites, not that we picked them. I don't think that we picked them.
No, we don't.
Yeah. So
Can I follow up?
Sorry.
Yes, please, council member.
So who picks the safe haven sites?
They applied for grants. Each site's applied for the grants.
Okay, thank you. And I have another question, Chair.
Yes, please.
Yes. Well, not really a question, but I guess a comment in regards to Councilwoman Harley was asking about transportation. I think partnership and collaboration is so key. So I know prior to COVID, the Team Warehouse was doing a bus loop. They had a north side bus loop, and then they were doing like a east side, west side, South Bridge bus loop, where they were going to test it out for the spring break, where they were going to pick up kids at different bus stops and different centers and drop them off. So it wasn't like we only do the Team Warehouse. They were going to do Powell Center, Kingswood, the Team Warehouse, and it was one more. I can't think of the other one. I think it was just those three on this side of town. And they were going to drop them. Oh yeah, the Boys and Girls Club. And they were going to drop kids off, and they partner with each other, which I think is so key and important because the Boys and Girls Club has a swimming pool, right? The Powell Center doesn't, right? So they were able to work off each other's weakness and strengths. And I really think Hicks can be great and all, but you guys don't have everything. So I think it's really important to think about those partnerships with the Team Warehouse and other community centers and how we can create a loop in our city to go to different centers and be able to expand the services. So one community center might have a girls program. The other one doesn't, right? Because the Powell Center does not have a girls program that functions and operates, because I grew up going to the Powell Center and all I did was watch boys play basketball, and it's pretty much still the same. So I don't want to get into programming at these centers. But I think it's really key that partnership and collaboration is really happening. So hopefully you guys would think of that and not just think, oh, Hicks is it. When there's all these other community centers offering all of these different services and products to our kids that is so essential and important. And we have to think above just, oh, this is our community center, but how can we help our kids?
Oliver.
Thank you. So I want to reiterate on what Mr. Jefferson stated. And I understand where Councilman Darby's coming from, but I have to be honest. I was just over there today, and I'm over there on the regular. Hicks is it. Hicks has a swimming pool. They have the outreach. Not saying I don't disagree with what you're saying about partnerships, but Hicks is our City of Wilmington community center, and when you go over there, they have everything. They have the gym, they have the downstairs, they have the girls program, they have checkers, they have ping pong, they have pool. As a matter of fact, they have everything. I've worked over there before. I worked over the Boys and the Browns Club before on 17th Street. I've been over the Neighbor House before, and I have to say it's a state of art center. If you go over there and you walk through there, you will see a lot of things they have going on. And I could say, growing up, it was important we have fun to get on the bus and go on another side of town. That's why I know so many people from different sides of towns, because I was a member at the Walnut Street Y. I was a member at the Boys Club on 17th Street. I stayed on the west side. I have relatives. So I'm just saying that to say, the Reach Warehouse, I was just over there today. Because of COVID, they are not bringing in any additional youth right at this moment. So as you said, I really appreciate that. They will probably be picking up kids and collaborating with other community centers. I think COVID kind of put a damper, well, we know COVID put a damper on a lot of other community centers, but I don't think he meant it in a negative way. And I don't mean it in a negative way, but going by the warehouse today, Reach Warehouse, and they was telling me how only a few kids, and he gave me the schedule. And because of COVID, things have really narrowed down. But when I went over William Hicks today and saw the youth coming in there, saw the guys in the court, and saw people coming through and still doing their social distance because it's so much bigger. I left a message for Mr. Jefferson. I guess he was studying the budget, that I'm very much interested in bringing some youth over there after the budget because of so many activities and seeing the young ladies come through there today. So I think everybody's on the same page. I don't think anybody's saying anything different, but about collaborating all their centers. But I have to say, William Hicks, I think it's under, I think we need to take if you haven't been over there, take a tour over there. Hicks Anderson, right now, and I've been through all of them. I've been to all of them, and Hicks Anderson is the #1 ticket right now, in my opinion. And that, I mean, not nothing against any other ones, but I think they have the most activities going on right now. Thank you.
And we are willing to collaborate with the transportation issue. Councilwoman Darby, if, I just said that, Hicks is dear to my heart. So, and we do have everything. We even have a garden outside. So, but we are willing to collaborate with anybody who wants to collaborate with us, so we can get the kids throughout the city to the center.
Councilmember Fields.
Thank you, Chair. And I just want to say, just for the record, and I know this is a budget meeting, but I just want to say that previously, me and Mr. Jefferson had already spoken about collaborations and how he and I could reach out to other centers and other community centers to see how we all can work together as one city. So I am sure I like he said, he has the passion for William Hicks Anderson Community Center, but he also has the passion for the kids. So it is in his itinerary to start, collaborating, because we've had that conversation on several occasions. It's just like Councilwoman Oliver said, right now, COVID has put a hold on a lot of things. So, I just think given the opportunity, and once things definitely, we begin to get to a little bit of normalcy, I believe, and I know for a fact that, those conversations will go further with collaboration. So Mr. Jefferson, I had to put that in there because I know we had that conversation when I first got in office about collaborating with other community centers right here in the 5th district, not even on the other sides of town. So thanks for having that conversation. And it would be remiss of me to not say it tonight that, that is a part of what you want to do. You want to collaborate, you want to bring kids in, and you are about the kids, and Hicks is it. Thanks.
Councilmember Darby.
Yes, I just want to add also that the collaboration is something that you guys are thinking of doing and not just saying it here tonight, and also expanding our safe haven program and seeing if other people do qualify and working with them in the 2nd district. I think it's key. I grew up in Northside, and I know it's still the same way. We do not, it's a beef with West Side since I was a kid all the way up. So you're going to have to think about those dynamics and trying to bring Northside kids over to the West Side. I grew up over Northside. Hicks was not an everyday thing for me. I grew up on the North Side. Hicks was something you might go to a basketball game once in a while. It might be one event there on and off on my part of town. Northside kids, they're not being thought of. I'm looking at this list here. All we have is the PAL Center, which has no programming for girls. And I just think it's unfortunate that the second district or even other districts on the part of Northside isn't more included into this.
And I just wanted to make sure, Councilmember McCoy, is your hand still raised from earlier?
It probably is, but I just could also make my point, add something to that. I'm like, I understand your frustration, Councilwoman Darby. I'm like, I said, I too realized that there was nothing there in my district as well. And that's the reason why I basically reached out to administration and made my plea because of this. So these safe haven sites are basically, like I stated, coming down from the state. I think it was actually 10 initially. I think Neighborhood House or something is missing off here. Not West End, but the one in Southbridge. I think they're missing. So, so there were, you know, I didn't have anything in my area, and because of the fact that I knew that there was a space or whatever that was already doing something with our youth, you know, thankfully I had Mr. Coley Harris. He was actually doing and putting on programming and stuff like that with the basketball, and they had the girls step team and stuff like that already there in the district, in my district. And I just like, why can't we just support them? And so where they're able to have this, where they're able to do this with the state, get those reimbursements for the state for these other entities, other centers. I don't know whether or not the YEP actually gets that reimbursement, because I've actually asked the city. Matter of fact, the last slide shows where the 21,000 is just the only one that's pretty much like isolated, because I've actually asked this of the city. I'm like, I need this in my area. So I'm like, I would just, you know, take that look around and see, like, when it comes to programming. Also, Boys and Girls Club, you know, they had tried programming in Bayard School and Pulaski as well. So I was just looking at whoever was doing programming to try to help me out with stuff like that. And I'm looking forward now to some other slide to tell me about spray parks, because I was happy to get my spray park in my area. So I can't wait to see that it's open this summer.
We're almost there, Councilmember. All right. About summertime.
All right.
All right, I appreciate it. Just real quick, Director Jefferson, just I believe there's a slide about the marketing for the anti-tobacco vaping programming. Do you have anything extra to say about that? That's back.
Yeah. The answers are right there. We're doing billboards, social media, and television programming for the program.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Director. Now turning to question 8. Now we're there. As Councilmember McCoy alluded to, can you talk about the spray park initiatives, what the proposed plan for the pools are as well? As we know, summertime is getting ready to hit, and hopefully we can get our kids out there. So what's the plan? Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, the floor is yours, Director.
What do you say? The floor is yours. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's yours. Yeah.
So the 36,500 that's for outdoor 8-week program at Eden Park. The 36,560 is outdoor 8-week opening of Foster Brown pool. 35,650 is for outdoor 8 weeks opening of Prices pool. Our indoor pool, PS DuPont, 28,000. That's indoor. That opens for 6 weeks. And the 90,000 is for William Hicks Anderson Community Center, which is open all year round.
Okay. Now is okay. So you're going to the spray park. Sorry. Okay. Can you elaborate? Are those the current locations?
Yes. These are our current locations for our spray parks 9th and Lincoln Street, Father Tucker, 4th and Fair Street, Woodlawn Park, 6th and Madison, Helen Chambers, 8th Avenue, Lincoln Street, Brown Park, 3rd and Clinton, Johnson Park, 4th and Terrace, Woodlawn Park, and Nag Park, 4th Avenue.
Member Darby has the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Again, I'm looking at the city spray parts at, well, I guess formerly it's called East Lake. I learned that as a city council person. Growing up, we called it 30th Street Park. They have a small spray area in there. It hasn't been active for years. So when would that be active? All of the spray parks, again, are all over West Side, all over East Side. Like, we have nothing on over North Side. Why aren't the water park working in East Lake and 30th Street Park? And then the previous slide also had, what was the previous slide of again?
Pools, swimming pool.
Oh, the swimming pool. So the PS DuPont is our only pool. We pretty much, well, okay, no, we got the other pool.
Prices.
Yeah, we got Prices and we got PS over North Side. PS1, why is it only open for 6 weeks?
That's the pool schedule for, that's what we budgeted for, and that's the pool schedule. It's been like that for years.
Yes, and when will the spray parks over East Lake that haven't worked for years, when would the spray park over there start working again?
I'll let Superintendent Williams speak to that.
Yeah, how you doing, Councilwoman Darby? So in regards to, and I grew up over there too, we call it 30th Street Park. So I definitely know what you're talking about. We had that running for a while. Maybe the last time we had it on, I'm gonna say about 10 years ago. And it wasn't up to the capacity that it should have been. So I know it was under review to try to get everything restructured when they redone the park. So it costs a lot to get those spray showers in. I'm not sure what's going on, but that's capital money. So I know it might be something that they might be talking about right now.
Yes, thank you. I remember that when I was younger, and now I just know they just don't work anymore. But I see everything's working on 9th, 4th, and 6th and 8th Street. Thank you.
Yep.
And I have just some information that's helpful for Councilmember Darby. A lot of the funds or in conjunction with neighborhood planning dollars, as well as state general assembly funds. So that's where I think working hopefully with the local state representative and state senator, you can get some transportation dollars, not transportation dollars, but they have dollars specifically for parks that can help out. Because I know in the ones in the west side, they were very instrumental. Representative Keeley was actually very instrumental with getting the parks up and running. So let me just, I believe the last slide is just about the hours of the pools. Council Member McCoy.
Yes, could you please go back to that last slide, because I think there may be an error. So the
park was on there twice.
I'm sorry?
Woodlawn Park is on there twice.
Yes, so the park that's actually I was thinking of, I do see Woodlawn Park is on there twice, but I was thinking of Kosciuszko's Park.
Yes.
And that's missing, because that's the one I'm talking about. And then also the fact that Brown Park is actually on there. And last night I talked to Kevin Kelly that we were still looking for some funding to make certain that we got the water pressure corrected or something over at that park. So I just wanted to make certain that that was actually corrected. So there's nothing wrong with Kosciuszko's Park water spray park?
No. We just didn't be on there, Councilwoman, but it's definitely up. It'll definitely be up and running.
Okay. So thank you very much. And I thank Bob Marshall and Helene Keeley for all their help when it came to getting those parks done in my area.
All right. Just for the informational purposes, here's the schedule of the pools for everyone. I don't know if we need to touch on anything there. Unless there's something you have to add in the hours, are they changed or?
Everything is, everything is fine.
Okay, all right, very good. Want to move to question number 9. Director Jefferson, can you discuss the plan used for approximately $304,000 for miscellaneous service? And this is $110,000 increase over last fiscal year.
Next slide.
Now, there was no Camp Barnes last year, correct? Okay.
You skip one. Go back. All right.
All right. So we have the armed security guard at $40,000. So can you discuss? I know there's been a lot of changes in William Hicks Anderson. Was this the change that was made to have a security guard instead of the security booth?
So the security guard is, and he is an armed guard, brigadier. So let me go back, Chair. In the morning time, we have a Wilmington police officer that's there from 8 a.m. until 12. At 12, the armed security guard from Brigadier comes in, and he's there from 12 to 8 p.m. closing Monday through Thursday. And on Fridays, he's there till 10 when we open our extended hours for safe haven. And on Saturdays, we have a Wilmington police officer that comes in from 10 to 4 that gets overtime to be there. And that's part of our safe haven too. The Saturday, open it up from 10 to 4. On May the 2nd, a new officer will be assigned to William Hicks Anderson. We have been without a full-time police officer since the police officer that we had resigned, and we've been using the security guard and part of the Wilmington Police Department for security. But every time the door is open at William Hicks Anderson Center, we have security there.
This may, again, it sounds a silly question. Is there a reason why there's a difference between armed and unarmed officers? Is there a reason why it was chosen to be an armed officer?
Personally, I just think you get more respect.
Okay.
Versus if you just got to.
So I'm just thinking from a cost perspective, it's a little more expensive, I'm sure, as an armed officer versus an unarmed officer.
But I think it's every bit of worth because they just get more respect.
Okay, gotcha. I believe there was an increase to Camp Barnes as well. I believe that's the next item.
It's not an increase. Actually, we are because of COVID, we're going to cut the sessions, and we're going to have 2 sessions with 40 kids. First session, girl session, and the second session will be with the boys, and that'll pay for staff and for the kids. 80 participants.
Okay, gotcha. And I believe the next item is the Rodney Square is $50,000 for landscaping. Can you expound on that, what the landscaping looks like and a wider price tag?
So the landscaping is basically beautification of Rodney Square. We have the new spray fountain, decorative spray fountain there that runs from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Has lights, and we had a outside agency to come in and plant, and so we paid them to maintain the upkeep of Rodney Square, and that includes the programming, the fountain, cutting the grass, the mulch, and planting of the flowers.
Okay, just as a FYI, is there a lot of foot traffic through Rodney Square during this time? I mean,
yes,
there is.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And just, excuse me, Chairman Johnson,
Yes.
just so you know, Parks and Recreation, nor does Public Works, they're not in the business of planting perennials. So that's what the bulk of that is going towards the flowering and the actual landscaping of the park itself.
And Vice Chair Harley, I believe, has some questions, as I know this is her district.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Director Jefferson, 1, is Rodney Square completed? And if it's not, when will it be completed?
It's not completed.
Okay.
It's not, I'm sorry, it's not completed. It has several phases to it.
Mhm.
So most of the inner square is completed, but we still have hardscape on the 10th Street side, and you still have work to be done on the 11th Street side. And so it's not completed, but we do have the fountain and we have the plantings and things of that nature. So.
Okay. Do you have a projected date that you think that, or know when it's going to be completed?
It's really it's about the budget and making sure that we have the funds to complete the work. And right now we don't. So we're just, we will have to budget for that in future capital program.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I have one other follow-up, Mr. Chair.
Yes, please.
I heard Director Jefferson say that this particular company is doing programming. What kind of programming are they going to be doing?
It's a program. Mainline is outside contractor that programs the fountain to come on, to go off, the lights to come on, the filtration of the water, and
maintenance.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant programs like programming, for activities.
Program the system. I should have said that. They program the fountain system.
Got you. Okay. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. I believe Council Member McCoy is next.
Thank you, Chair. So my question is, this 50,000, do you think that this is going to be like a one-time, initial amount that higher, just maybe an annual ask?
Can you repeat your question? I didn't hear you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. They cooking downstairs. My smoke alarm going off. Okay. So the question was the $50,000 for Rodney Square. Do you believe that this is going to be an annual ask for $50,000 to do the planning and such programming, or is this basically this amount is going to be a little larger than the other ones because it is the first?
This will probably be annual. It may be a little more because the programming of the system, and we're going to have to go into training about how to do it ourselves. So it's going to definitely, it'll probably be the same. It'll be, it'll definitely be annual right now.
Okay. The other question is, may I follow, Chair?
Yes, please.
Thank you. So the other question was, we are, we're quite aware when it comes to Rodney Square, like the businesses and everything, we have kind of come together like a friends of to beautify the square. The money that was raised, they weren't able to, get the $50,000 from this with this beautifying of the square. $50,000 wasn't able to come from that, or to maintain the square.
I can answer that. So they're in the process of still fundraising, But they're fundraising, they're trying to find funds to complete the other phases, which is the 10th and 11th Street, and even the Market Street side has hardscaping work that needs to be conducted. So they're still fundraising, actually.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just had one last follow-up. So my last question was, when it came to the fountain, I do realize that we have a lot of waterworks now, more so within the city, spray parks, pools, and now this fountain. Will we be having a contractor to on hand or on our call sheet or whatever to deal with any water issues, or was one ever hired to deal with our water issues?
We have a contractor on call right now.
Okay. All right, thank you. That's all that I had.
There's a follow-up, Director Jefferson. Is this new Rodney's spray park? Is this like a fountain like you would have at like the Art Museum in Philadelphia? Like what? I'm like trying to visualize it. Like what is it? Or a spray park where kids can go into?
Yes.
Like, what kind of spray park is it?
It's just like the one in Love Park in Philadelphia. It's just smaller. It's just a smaller version.
Oh, okay. Okay, gotcha.
So when it gets night, it's nighttime outside, you can change the color of the lights to any color that you want. You can change the height of the actual, flow from the, yeah. So it's really pretty neat.
All right. Thank you. Councilmember Darby.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So I want to confirm that the $50K may be an annual maintenance for Rodney Square. Is that what I heard?
Yes.
But we don't have $50K to fix the spray part at 30th Street. But okay. And then who's paying for the water bill for that spray fountain at Rodney?
It's a city-owned park, so everything is covered by us.
Oh, so by the taxpayers, the way, okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. I believe that settles it for question number 9. Let's move on to question 10. Can you discuss, Director, the number of parks that are maintained by Parks and Rec? Is there a total, total number?
Go back.
Wait.
Previous slide.
Go back.
Your previous slide.
Yeah. As you
said, overview. Is there anything else you have to add to that?
Yeah, just the fact that there are 5 parks maintained by the state. And the other park that you should add on is Alafocus.
Okay. Now this is a follow-up question. I believe Councilmember Walsh did bring this up. Obviously, the fabulous job your crew does, and I know Public Works as well. They're in the front lines. Was there any hero pay increase or any kind of supplement during COVID? I mean, we're still in the midst of COVID. Was there anything extra for the employees?
No. All I know, Chair, is that they were working. That's all I know. They were working every day like it wasn't COVID.
Okay, but so you don't know of any supplemental pay?
No.
No. I can answer that. There was no supplemental pay.
Yeah.
Okay. Was there ever thoughts of that, or?
Well, there was no supplemental pay for anyone, actually. I think in the next slew of fundings, there's some sort of premium pay that's allowed, but no, we didn't receive any like heroes funding out of that. Remember that came from this.
That's something I know Council President and I have shared that vision of, obviously trying to, last fiscal year, we couldn't do it, trying to find a way to show our frontline workers that we appreciate them. I mean, I understand other city workers are certainly going through things at this time as well, but they're in an office, they're working remotely. I don't really think it's a distinction between that and actually being on the front line or being on a garbage truck.
Mm-hmm.
that's just my opinion. Other council members might not agree, but I think Council President and I both share that vision where we would like to see something in the next tranche of funds to award those workers. You know, because it's a lot of city parks, and they are, I believe, well maintained, and they've been out there. So, is there anything extra to add?
No, I would agree with everything you said. You know, one of the main reasons there wasn't any heroes pay is that we had to stick to the guidelines on how we were reimbursed. And as you said, in the next tranche, I believe there will be some allowance for premium pay, if I recall, but don't quote me on that.
Excellent. Okay. And Councilmember Darby, I believe, had a question.
Yes, I have a question about parks. I've been asking for lights for Brandywine Park. The elders who live across the street, they said at nighttime they can't enjoy the park. I've been asking for lights, and I've been in 90 plus days. How can I get lights in the park?
Yeah. Which Councilwoman Darby, which Brandywine Park are you talking about? The Brandywine Park where the zoo is, or?
Yeah, pretty much the whole stretch where the zoo is. I've been asking for lights since I came into office in January, and no one hasn't gotten back to me yet.
Okay, I would have to say that at that point the state maintains that, so you would pretty much have to reach out to the state on an issue like that. I mean, the city owns it, but the state maintains everything to do with that structural and everything. So I'm not.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Director. Just I guess moving on to question 11. You're already there. Can you discuss the approximately $151,000 budget for? I guess this would be materials, supplies, and parts.
And I'll just add day-to-day operations.
Okay. And have those, and this is the question, just the kind of knowing about the state of affairs. Has this account line gone up? Because I know this is again taking in context of the council, the world of construction, materials are harder to get, and you know it's a little bit more expensive. Has this account line increased much, or it's about the same?
It's about the same.
Okay. You haven't had a problem sourcing materials at all during COVID?
Just shipping sometime. They delay stuff at times, just getting it, you know, they'll tell you it's back a month or maybe back 2 months on certain supplies, but the cost is the same.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for clarifying that. And now moving on to question 12. Director, can you explain the approximate $122,000 budget for rentals and contracted maintenance?
$185,000 for maintenance, for porta potties, general electric, plumbing, and the repairs of the fountain at Body Square. The $6,000 for recreations is for and that was set back. The fitness seniors health and fitness event was shut down due to COVID, and tennis in the street that we normally have every year, that was shut down due to COVID. But the $6,000 was meant for the chairs, tents, and tables for those special events. The $147,270 for alarm system, fire system, HVAC, and the rentals for the senior Thanksgiving luncheon, but that was canceled, and the Christmas breakfast was canceled due to COVID. 14.5 for the enrichment camp, which was shut down due to COVID, and summer program van rentals, and the cultural education and community trips. That's what that 14.5 for, and that was for youth and family service.
All right, thank you. Covering that. Moving on to question number 13. Discuss the planned use of approximately $132,000 in overtime.
The $124,406 is for maintenance for staff coverage at different city events, cultural fair, the mayor's office, and other city departments. The $8,000 recreation costs covered the two 1102 employees that work to and supervise the evening programs, holidays, special events, and the every time we have the event or at Eden Field, we have to have one of the maintenance guys there, so that 8,000 covers that overtime. Next.
Thank you. Let's move on to question number 14. Can you talk about the plan use approximately $21,000 just for community activities?
20,000 for Arts in the Park. It was downsized last year because of COVID. $1,000 summer movies, we call it movies in the park. That was downsized because of COVID. And historically, we normally show movies in all eight districts, but because of COVID, it was all downsized. All our activities are advertised on billboards. We buy the magnets, put on the side of our vehicles, parks vehicles. We use flyers and social media. And our success is basically gauged on attendance and community feedback.
All right. I believe Councilmember Darby has a question.
Yes, again, please tell me what part of the second district were there arts in the park with this $20,000, and where was there summer cinema in the specifically the second district? Like, there's a clear lack of investment in this whole city of Wilmington and in all the youth of Wilmington, where we're investing $50K for flowers and a fountain. I can't. But where's the second district? Please tell me where were we in the second district with arts in the park and summer seminar in our district?
Okay, so I think this question, again, Director, I think this may be an operational question. We can maybe talk about what the plan looks like in the second district. I think that may be a little bit better, as we have, I believe Councilmember McCoy talked about that. I think it may be just a meeting, you and Councilmember Darby, that may help clear some of this up.
Excuse me, Chair. Excuse me.
Yes.
Everyone else got to ask questions about their district through this whole budget thing. People ask specifically about their district.
I understand. I just don't know if Director Jefferson has an answer that may involve the mayor's office. So I don't know if he's ready right now.
So let him answer.
Yeah, I can answer. Thank you. For in the second district at Triangle Park, we have arts in the park there, and in 24th and Chatham at One Love, we have arts in the park there. Haynes Park, we have arts in the park there. That's in the first district. Yeah. Councilman Darby, does that answer your question?
That answered my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Chair, actually I had my hand up for quite some time, a few slides.
Yeah, I almost missed you, Councilmember McCoy. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So the first question that when I raised my hand was basically about materials. Just wanted to ask whether or not you think we may have any issue with getting wood fiber delivered for the parks. I imagine having a better park season this year. Will that be issue for the safe space for the playgrounds? That was the first question.
How you doing, Councilwoman McCoy? This is Leonard Williams. We're actually trying to get in touch with some council members coming up real shortly. I know I talked to Councilwoman Darby and Councilwoman Oliver about getting some playground mulch and playgrounds in that area. We've set aside some funding, and what they did, they're working on getting some of the community groups involved where we can just deliver the mulch to the playground, and then they'll have the community groups spread them. I know it's also happening in Tilton Park this weekend, this Saturday. So it's no problem to get it. And if you guys want to get on board and help us out with spreading it, that'll help us a whole lot, because that'll allow us to maintain and take care of some other things if you want to get a community group involved. But you're more than welcome to reach out to me.
Oh yeah, that's fine. I've done that quite a few times.
Yes,
Can I follow up, Chair?
Yes, please.
Okay, so the other question was the summer movies. Yes, I have had the summer movie in my park pretty much annually. Wanted to find out whether or not we can actually it says it's $1,000 for the summer movie, and I'm guessing that's pretty much purchasing the rights or whatever to show these movies, because we own the bandwagon or whatever. So just wanted to see whether or not could we start that a little earlier and not just do 1 month but do 2, so that we can go to 2 different parks if you have it in your district, because some people are not afforded to get to the Kosciuszko's Park where we're having it. I can have it in another area. Would you consider starting that not in August, but actually earlier, like in July?
Councilwoman, can we discuss that offline?
Yes, we can. Okay, Mr. Chair, I have one last question. And we actually spoke of special events. I would love to find out about special events, when we're going to start getting permission to get permits and have gatherings and things of that nature. And please talk to me about whether or not I'm still contacting Ms. Christopher about getting permission to do anything within this city.
As far as I know, I believe it's still in Tiffany Christopher's hands as far as the park permits. I'm not sure, but I'll get back to you about that.
We have not, I can answer that. We have not started issuing permits yet. You know, a lot of that will be contingent on our discussions at the state level. But you're right, the special events permit process is housed in the mayor's office with Tiffany Christopher. But when we start to do that, we will send out a release letting everyone know.
And as a follow-up, Chief Stan Washington, I know the Juneteenth is coming up soon enough. There's going to be discussion, because I know, for example, the city of Philadelphia is moving forward with some hybrid plans. Is there discussion locally for Juneteenth programming?
I'm not aware of it. That doesn't mean that Tina Bett's shop has received, requests for a permit. I'm just not aware of it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Clearing that up. Councilmember Gray, I believe you had your hand up for a while.
I was going to address something that Councilwoman Darby said, but I'll wait till we get to Haynes Park. Thank you.
Vice Chair Harley.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. As it relates to Juneteenth, I know that the Wilmington Public Library is trying to organize and plan an event in Rodney Square. And as Chief of Staff Washington said, it will be contingent upon the state's rules or compliances or guidelines. And I do know that they're trying to engage the city to be a part of that event, because across, like you said, in different cities and states, it's definitely being elevated to a whole nother level. And there is interest in the city of Wilmington participating in that event for Juneteenth in Rodney Square if it's permitted. So I just wanted to answer that question. And secondly, I don't know if I'm jumping ahead or not, but I wanted to know if there's a list of the summer cinema locations.
No, the list hasn't been released yet.
Okay, okay. But when it's created, y'all will get it out to everyone.
Yes, yes. So this is, as soon as we get it from the Grand Opera House, we'll release it to each council person in each district.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
All right, Councilmember McCoy, is your hand still raised?
Yeah, I just raised it again. I had one more question. Thank you, Chair. So the question was more so about the gathering, because special events is pretty much isolated to just the parks and those public spaces that are owned by the city. When if someone needs to have a gathering or people are coming together, should we then be approaching maybe WPD about a crowd or whatever coming together? So like, I need to make certain that as people want to come together, and if it's not actually inside of a park or so, what is the next step? I want to make certain that they're getting it right. I don't want any issues.
Yeah, so the special events for the city, it includes the police. So that special events application, that would go to everyone who was relevant to that whole event. And that would be inclusive of the police. So, you know, we can't, it's not like a one-off, like you can go to police and say, you know, will you cover this? It has to go through the actual process.
Okay. And I'm like, but that is like a 30-day, like you have to have everything in before 30 days is from what I'm understanding. And the thing is, a lot of times things actually get put together like more so on the fly, where you get like 2 or 3 weeks or whatever. And I've actually had to like almost go on bended knee as a council person to get something permitted to get it done within the 30. Like I was like maybe short like 3 or 4 days or whatever. And it can be tough. And especially when I'm doing it for someone else. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because a lot of times it involves like maybe resources from the city. So whether that be the fire, you know, the EMTs being there, or a police officer, all this stuff has to go through schedules. You know what I mean? And when you're talking about street closure, everything is like a coordinated process.
Right.
So yeah, that's why we require that time.
Okay. All right. That's all, Chair. Thank you.
Vice Chair Harley, if you can continue with the meeting, please.
Yes. Okay. So we're on question 15. So Mr. Director Jefferson, so you're going to discuss your projected grant funds from the state of Delaware for the evening slash youth feeding program.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair, Carly. The Children's Adult Care Program, $532,679 for the summer. For the summer food program, we budgeted $2,480,159. The highlight of this is the fact that we served over 1 million meals during COVID. And we fed every district in the city. We had help from Frios. During the pandemic, when hours were cut, and some of the people were being laid off throughout the city, they were able to come here and work in our food program to get the feeding, to keep the feeding going, and also to keep them gainfully employed during that time. So this is something that we are very proud of. During the pandemic, we still were able to serve 1 million meals and also keep people working. And it's that work for the city of Wilmington.
Yes, and I would like to personally commend your department, you and your department, and all the workers for definitely met the needs, and not only met the needs, but I think you exceeded the expectations of the community as it related to those programs. So are your expenses pretty much the same, or is there an uptick, or where do you stand for this budget with these amounts here?
Councilwoman Harley, good evening. So the program is a reimbursable grant. So the city pours out the funds and we get those funds back from the state at a rate of meals times rate. So all of the dollars are poured into to ensure that the constituents of Wilmington are fed, which it just covers really salaries and the meals that we get from our vendor.
Okay. All right. And that's great. So it's reimbursable. All right. So I am going to turn it back over to our finance chair, Johnson.
All right. Thank you very much, Vice Chair Harley, for jumping in once again and moving these hearings along. I don't believe we have any more questions on 15 from members of the public, members of council. So I'd like to turn it quickly to question 16. Director Jefferson, can you discuss the Park Trust Fund and how the funds are allocated?
Okay, the Park Trust Fund holds in trust grants of lands and monies for the use specified in each request. The purpose of the funds are to maintain and improve certain parks consistent with the original request.
Okay, I believe Councilmember Darby has a question.
Oh no.
Yes, I do. Again, I'm on a meeting. Get out my phone. So another question about the second district. Haynes Park is supposed to be, not Haynes Park, what y'all call it, East Lake Park, 30th Street Park is supposed to be, I thought, next up. Is this related to the money that would go towards fixing up 30th Street, East Lake Park? And when is that supposed to happen?
No, Park Trust Funds, East Lake is not a part of that. Park Trust Funds are monies that are set up in trusts for specific parks. But East Lake is not one of those parks. I mean, you have Valley Garden Park, you have Brandywine Park in Rockford and Haynes, but East Lake Park is just a regular part of our park system and is handled through our capital budget.
So is 30th Street Park, East Lake Park in the capital budget and Parks and Rec or whoever to be renovated?
This is a different question. This is about the Park Trust Fund.
That's fine, but we're on parks, so I was just asking a question.
That's the next question, I believe.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, may I ask a question?
Yes, Vice Chair Harley.
Yes, I only wanted to say, I believe that Councilmember Darby was wanting to address slide question 15, if I'm not mistaken, because I seen her hand go up like at the very end. So if that's the case, then I just wanted to intervene. I believe it was on question 15.
On the feeder program?
Yeah, that's when she raised her hand, like as we were ending that discussion.
That's Councilwoman Harley. I'll ask my question another time.
Okay, yeah.
I have my hand up, Mr. Chair.
I've got a council member. I just wanted to kind of clear up. So we are going to talk about capital projects, I believe, 2 questions from now. So we're almost there, actually. So now, Councilmember Gray, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. About the trust funds, I understand that you said there's a group trust fund commissioners. Do they ever ask for advice from the community on how these trust funds should be used when they're deciding to use them?
Well, it's the use of the funds are restricted in certain ways. So it's not like it's a community, you know, we can get that type of input from the community because they're restricted in its use. But I sit on there, I'm a voting member as well as the director. And we have another person that sits on there as the treasurer, Henry Sapinski. So between myself and the parks director, we're pretty much aware of, you know, what's, you know, the needs are in the various parks throughout the city. So some of our decisions are based on that as well. Just as we approved $30,000 at the last Park Trust meeting for Haynes Park.
Thank you. May I follow up, Mr. Chair?
Yes, please.
Yes, well, may I have a copy of restrictions? I think that we can understand restrictions in the public. The guidelines that you claim has to be used. Correct? Yeah. And thank you. You had said to me that I was saying that Chief of Staff did send to me the amount of money that's supposedly being parks out of the trust fund, but I was just saying I would like a copy of the restrictions for the use of the money. Thank
you. Moving on.
Wait, did I get a response? Mr. Chair, did I get a response or confirmation that information will be provided to me?
Yes, and I want to just make another point that's very important about the funds itself. So the funds itself, there's not a constant contribution to the funds. So as you draw down on them, the money basically dissipates because the only income that comes into the fund is from the investments itself. So there's not constant contributions. This money will just eventually, you know, go away at some point because, you know, it lives off the investment income. That's the sole source of funds.
Thank you. I understand trust funds.
All right. Now moving on to question number 17. Director. I believe this question is about an overview of all Parks and Rec programs and participation levels for the past 2 years. If you have a breakdown, just cost per program and the amount of funds collected per program.
Next slide, please.
Yes.
Next slide. Right here is a breakdown of our programs in the last 2 years. Some of the program was limited due to COVID, but I must tell the community and council that all of our programming is free of charge to all citizens of Wilmington. So as you can see, here's a breakdown of our programming and our costs.
Thank you for that overview. Now moving on, if there's no more questions on that, moving on to question number 18. Director Jefferson, can you discuss, I believe something we've alluded to earlier, the proposed capital budget request?
So the 1.8 million is for ongoing improvements, athletic fields, plazas, swimming pools, and fountains throughout the city.
I can't tell what it is.
Darby.
Okay, Council Member Darby, we've had some questions on 18.
Yes, thank you, Chair. East Lake Park, 30th Street Park be included in park improvement?
Actually,
Ask her to repeat the
And she just
question.
said she.
Couldn't hear the question.
Director, are you able to hear her, or do you want me to
I
read?
didn't hear what she said.
She asked
Y'all
about,
hear me now?
Yes.
it was a specific park she asked about.
East Lake Park, 30th Street Park. Is it going to be up for park improvements? So that's one, and then I could ask the other parks. There's also a triangle called Garfield Triangle. I talked to you guys about renovating that area too. My community does not want that statue there, and they don't want to name Garfield Park.
Okay, I can speak to the 30th Street Park. That is on our list for upgrade. I cannot speak to the Garfield Park. I don't know anything about that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Councilmember Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Jefferson, Haynes Park is used by both the first and the second district. And for more than 2 years, and before you took this interim position, the ex-Commissioner Kelly and I and some interested community members have been working on renovations to Haynes Park. And then in August, we had this big storm that just devastated most of the trees and all of the. And I asked how much money is allocated in the 2022 capital budget for Haynes Park?
Councilwoman, I cannot answer that because we have been in conversation with Willie Patrick, and we're trying to put together the monies that were spent doing that damage and the monies that we can recoup from FEMA for all the damage that was done. So right now, I do not have the exact dollar amount. Give me a few days and I can get that. I can get back with you with that.
Follow up, Mr. Chair.
Yes, please.
Mr. Jefferson, you're telling me in a couple of days, you'll be able to tell me how much money is allocated in the 2022 capital budget for Haynes Park? Is that what you're saying?
I thought you were speaking about the damage and the upgrade. I'm sorry, no, I cannot tell you that. But I can tell you how much we're going to spend to upgrade that park.
I understand what you're saying, but it really isn't answering my question. I want to know, is it going to be in the 2022 capital budget? And if so, sorry?
At this time, I can't answer that question. I'll get back with you.
Okay, well, is there going to be any work done in Haynes Park before the end of this fiscal year?
This fiscal year?
It ends June 31st, I think.
Yes, we have basketball courts being renovated and also the tennis courts. And the fence has already been done, put back. It was not.
The fence, I'm sorry, the fence where?
The fence around the tennis court was knocked down.
Okay, and what else? And it's been repaired.
Yeah.
Okay, and what else did you say?
The basketball courts and the tennis courts are being renovated right now as we speak.
Okay. My other concern with that is that in the budget, I seem to have found 1.5 million of available funds from defunct projects from 2021. So I'm just really curious why I'm having such a difficult, or the executive branch is having such a difficult time putting this money in the capital budget to renovate Haynes Park. I mean, it's been going on for 2 years. It was destroyed practically in the storm. I mean, the trees were ripped out and all the play equipment was mangled. And I was in the park and I had family members there saying that the layer that the equipment is on, that really they shouldn't be using, is all cracked. And they said it's a safety hazard. Now, these are parents with their kids there, and they're telling me it's a safety hazard. And I don't see that on your list of things to be done, or you haven't told me what amount of money is going to be in the 2022 capital budget to take care of these problems in Haynes Park.
I can tell you that the $1.8 million in park improvements is the money that's allocated for the entire city, all parks. So not just Haynes, but it covers improvements for all the parks throughout the entire city.
And thank you, Chief of Staff. You sent me a list of all the parks in the city that need work and what work is needed,
right?
Except most of them do not have amounts of money. So since you brought that up, what is county park recovery funds? Where is that money coming from?
That's money that's budgeted annually for our county parks. We do have some parks that used to be maintained by the county, but now they are maintained by the city. The city received them back, like parks like Alapokus and things.
Well, this is under Haynes Park. You have Project 18026 County Park Recovery, $70,000.
Mm-hmm.
So where's, I'm asking the county.
It's already, council member, as I shared with you earlier, the money that we're talking about right now is already in the budget. So unlike many of your colleagues, you're getting improvements in Haynes Park this year. The money for 2022, the capital money for 2022, you wouldn't even go to the bond market for that until 2024. We're 2 years behind in going to the bond market. So this money that you see right here before you, the 1.8 million, we would not even go to the bond market to receive that money until 2024.
Thank you, but I thought we had 1.5 million that we saved from last year, projects that we never completed. That money, it went someplace in the general fund or is going to be continued into Parks and Recs. I understand about the bond.
Yeah, so that money is like all other members, in addition to yourself, have said that they wanted improvements in their park. They have, you know, just as Council Member Darby just spoke about East Lake. So that money has to be spread out through the entire city, throughout the entire city. I believe your improvements was somewhere in the neighborhood of about over $300 and some $1,000. And that's a significant amount. And that's why we approved some money out of the Park Trust Fund. We're waiting on the FEMA grant. Hopefully that will cover some part of the playground equipment. And as the director said, the tennis courts and the basketball courts are being renovated now.
Okay, thank you very much. Do you know what the FEMA grant amount is yet?
No, that the holdup is that they have to wait for the insurance company to submit the information to FEMA. So that seems to be the holdup at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Appreciate you, Chief of Staff, and Director Jefferson for answering these important capital budget questions. Was there any elaboration on, I believe you have to go back a slide, about the renovations to Hicks Anderson?
Well, the upgrade is basically, well, we did everything in the center when we did the upgrade. We didn't do the lighting in the pool area. We also didn't do anything in the weight room at all. We just had our maintenance guys clean it out, sanitize it as best they could. We got some of that old equipment out of there, things of that nature. But we really need to do some upgrades in the weight room. The rest of the building is beautiful, but the weight room and the boxing area, they went untouched during this this renovation. So we was asking for the $200K for the improvements of the weight room, the boxing area, the lighting in the pool, and the lighting in the gym, and also the upgrade on the HVAC system.
All right. Thank you for that overview. I believe Vice Chair Harley has a question.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So Director Jefferson, so this FY 2022 capital budget request, this will not go out into 2024, these, what we're talking about right here?
Yes, that's what Chief Washington just said.
Yeah, okay. And I really wanted to applaud her for sharing that. But at the same time, I guess my question is, why do we talk about these dollars in 2021 that will not even be considered until 2024? There has to be some reason that I'm not aware of, because that could be very, very confusing, especially with new council members. And I know that is not your responsibility, but it's just an observation as it relates to, why are we talking about these dollars now and it doesn't even take effect into 2024.
So the even years in our budget cycle are when we approve for capital funding. And it just so happens that at some point in time, and I can't recall how long ago it was, that we did not keep up with the fiscal year of going to the bond market. So we go like every 2 years. We don't go every year, we go every 2 years. And so at some point in time, we got off track. And so now, we just went to the bond market for the FY18 capital funds. And next year we'll go, at the end of this year, we will go for the FY20. Mm-hmm. So, I'm sorry, FY22 will go for FY20. So we're basically 2 years behind in going to the bond market. But nevertheless, the budget has to be passed along with the, the operating budget, the fiscal budget, the capital budget must be passed as well. Mm-hmm. So it basically just tells you what our programming and our budget is and what the outlook is for future years to come.
Okay, and thanks for that explanation. And this is just something small, and what you're saying, makes sense. But maybe we could have some footnotes on some of these charts where it, allows those that are reading the charts to remember this is not right now, this is down the road. It's just a suggestion. That's all.
Not a problem. Yeah, it is confusing. You would think that we would be going like this year, but yeah, it's 2 years out.
Yeah, thank you. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you very much, Chief of Staff, for that answers. Moving on to question 19, just briefly, can you discuss the new equipment request?
All right, so it's 4 vehicles. We're requesting a chipper. A chipper go to the maintenance department. That will allow the parts guys to get rid of the numerous the small debris and bushes that falls from the trees during the season. A utility vehicle, which will handle multiple tasks that can't be parked, such as litter and small snow removal. And also that vehicle will allow us to transport materials from for youth and families. They are in need of another cargo van, which will help us deliver more meals, and we can pick up some more sites. And the SUV will be used for community outreach and for field trips.
Okay. If there's any questions on that one, and finally, if you could turn to, if you could show your organizational chart. Okay. I believe Councilmember Darby has a question.
Yeah, I know this is probably the last question, right, Chair, before.
No, I mean, you have another opportunity to go to the public and then final words from council. So either now or you can wait a minute.
Okay. Well, I can go with my 2 points. I think a program really focused on safe haven, making parks safe havens, I think is really key. A lot of our parks are not safe zones for children. So I don't know what role or way Parks and Rec can play, but I really see and bringing like summer youth into the parks, putting more cameras and lighting there, doing some type of slogan or campaign. You know, we got the It's Time Wilmington campaign. Why would we do a campaign like that's going to be like grassroots in the community, focused on making parks safe zones for our children where they don't have to worry about getting shot at, right? They don't have to worry about sitting there on a swing while drug interactions are happening while they're sitting at the park. So really focusing on like, how can we make parks safer, I think is key. And Parks and Rec, I think, should play a role in it since you guys manage parks. And then my second I want to say is that I know that the businesses downtown financially invested in the development of Rodney Square. Have you guys explored those businesses paying for or contributing to the upkeep and maintenance for Rodney Square of that $50K a year? Because my community asks for flowers and a water fountain, and the annual maintenance of $50K for flowers and fountains just sounds like ridiculous to me, especially when you have areas in our district where it looks like a bomb went through it, and you have kids hungry, homeless people sleeping outside, and we got $50K annually for flowers and a fountain. Why are we not asking these businesses that invested in the development of Rodney Square to put money towards that to lower that cost?
Director Jefferson or Chief of Staff, is there any comment or?
I heard what she said. I'm taking it. We'll take it all into consideration.
Councilmember Gregg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Young Conaway is very generous. I don't know, they might have already contributed a lot to Rodney Square. I'm not aware, but you've got Young Conaway and TD Bank. Both are usually just contributors. They may be, because it's right, it's the front yard for Young Conaway. So I would think definitely we want to contribute. Thank you.
You're correct, Councilmember Gray. Thanks for reminding me. They contributed a fair amount of money when we conducted the square improvements. And that was millions of dollars it cost us to improve that square. So you're right, they did contribute.
All right, Councilmember McCoy.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to state out, I forgot that fast, okay. This is what it was. When I was looking over like the questions that needed to be asked, one of the questions I think I may have not heard or missed was something about an increase by $20-some thousand. 20,000 of it was basically for administration to do data something like I guess some type of data research or pulling data. I didn't get a chance to hear that. Was that explained? And should I just go back and like look at the tape or whatever, or did that portion get overlooked?
No, actually, it didn't get overlooked. We did answer it. That was increase in our temporary position for actually Gerald Chambers, Wolfie, who does that for our department. He collects the data and he assessed our programs. So that's what the 19.5 was for.
Okay, follow-up, Chair?
Yes, please.
Okay, so that was for so that 20,000 was for Darrell Chambers and his just himself or his department when it comes to collecting data.
It's him, and he has I think one or two other people that helps him out with going around to the different sites, getting the data.
All right, thank you. I think that was the one last thing on there that I didn't get a chance to get cleared up. I will be sending you an email though, because rather than make this draw out longer, I would like to find out where my parks were when it comes to the renovations. Because I know one is actually probably being done now, and then I'm looking to see one in the fiscal year 2022. So I'll send you an email, Mr. Director Jefferson.
right. At this time, I would like to turn to members of public if there's any public comments.
Please.
I will turn it back to council in a minute. I just want to turn it to the public first. All right. Going once, going twice. Now I turn it back to members of council for any final questions or comments. Council Member Fields.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Mr. Jefferson and the rest of his staff that's there tonight, I want to say that you all did an excellent job. You gave out as much information as you could concerning Parks and Recreation, and there's always an opportunity for us to do better. So I do appreciate you acknowledging you may not know certain things, but you will look into it. I appreciate the work that you all do at Hicks. And I just want to say, keep up the good work. I mean, like I said, I know nothing is perfect, and there's always going to be hills to climb. But as far as what you guys are doing, you fed the kids throughout the district and other districts throughout the city with food during a pandemic, and people fail to realize we're still in one, whether we're vaccinated or not. So I just appreciate what you're doing for our youth. I appreciate what you're doing for the community. I look forward to continuing working with you all. I thank you for keeping me engaged on what's going on at Hicks as the council person for the 5th District. Just keep up the good work. Mr. Williams, I will be calling you because I have some questions about some park, it's not issues, but just some park questions. And you lady and the other people, just keep doing what you're doing, and I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Darby.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the same thing for that Councilwoman Brigida said. I grew up off of Parks and Rec food, the programming, so I really I appreciate it and understand what it's doing for the kids now. And I hope that I already started conversations with people in Parks and Rec that we can continue this conversation and make sure all of Wilmington is invested in, all of our youth are invested in, and that our money is being spent in places that make sense and that's beneficial for everybody in our community. So thank you for the presentation, and I appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Any final questions or words from Councilmember Gray?
Yes. I would just like to thank Parks and Rec and Public Works for some repairs, minor cosmetic repairs that they did in the 1st District, but everyone is so appreciative of it. It makes such a difference. And I know that might have been lost in my pursuing the renovations of Haynes Park. I'm still going to, but thank you for the work that you have done.
All right. There's no other comments or questions by members of council. I'd like to turn it to you, Director Jefferson. Any final statements or parting words?
I just want to say thank you, Chair, and thank you to council for being so patient, basically with me, new guy on the block, weeding my way through this thing. But I'm real grateful for our staff who's here today, and I'm very helpful with the information. We have an open door policy. Council can contact us at any time, and we have a policy in our department. We will answer any question within 48 hours. Within 48 hours, we will get back with an answer or some type of solution. So that's in our department now. But thank you, and we're done.
All right, we appreciate it, Director Jefferson, and we appreciate you being on the hot seat after only being in the position for a short time. So we're certainly aware of that, and I hope you weren't too beat up. But we certainly appreciate your patience and the diligent work of your staff, of many who we've all worked with. And so again, we appreciate them and the frontline workers in your department. So thank you very much. And just as a reminder, I would like to thank, of course, OMB, both Director Jefferson and Director Flynn, his staffs, WITN, and members of the public who have engaged with us tonight or will engage with us as we go through this process. As a housekeeping matter, the next budget hearings are scheduled for next Wednesday, April 21st. This Wednesday, April 21st. Skipping ahead a week. This Wednesday, April 21st. And we have Audit Department at 4:30 p.m., followed by Human Resources at 5:15 p.m. And finally, completing the evening with Law Department at 6:45 p.m. And please stay tuned to WITN Channel 22 to watch the meeting. You can also watch online at WITN22.org. And as always, we have a new budget website for the public to engage. You can look at this new online website to submit questions and research the budget at wilmdebudget.org. At this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All right. Is seconded, moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. All right. Well, the ayes have it, and I look forward to seeing everyone Wednesday evening. Take care.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.